Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to another edition of the Fan Show, where in this edition I'll be talking to a number of Tottenham Hotspur fans from all around the world on everything Tottenham Hotspur. Now, of course, it has been a very busy few weeks. Spurs played 6 games in 17 days, 3 wins and 3 draws. And of course, we face Leeds United on Saturday in the early kickoff at Ellen Road, 12:30. Now, hopefully, Spurs can win a game before the international break, giving us a big smile before the international break. Now, we're live on YouTube, we're live on X and Facebook. Please do get involved. Let us know how you are feeling right now as a Tottenham Hotspur fan. Let us know how you are feeling about Thomas Frank and the season so far. If you'd like to get involved in a future episode, please do send me an email. It is tottenhamfanchris@gmail.com, and it'd be great to talk to you. Now, I'm going to go to my first guest down under in Australia. He's always the first ready to go. Phil, how are you?
Not too bad. Thank you for starting this a little bit later. I got a bit of a lie-in today. Thank you very much. And also, it's good that there's an international break coming up. You've given me a bit of joy with that, because then I do get a proper night's sleep. So, yes. I've been a little bit disappointed that Bodo was a diabolical display. I wasn't happy with it. This is the Champions League, for crying out loud. And this is supposed to be one of the weaker teams. I know it's difficult going up to Norway and it's an artificial pitch and that sort of thing, but it's not what I'm looking for from a Tottenham team in Europe. Should be playing a lot better. I was even thinking, because I was disappointed in Odebear, and I know he's got a bit more time, but I was thinking almost, why not get Udogie and sticking him up as a left winger, and then you have Spence as the left back, almost like what they did with Gareth Bale in the end. And look what happened to him. But Xavi Simons is coming along, but there was no creativity in the midfield. Bergvall was off his game a little bit, and Brennan Johnson, for crying out loud, it's like a stroll in the park. Maybe they're being paid too much money. Maybe they're just saying, well, I get paid anyway, it doesn't really matter. And that's not the sort of attitude I want. You know, if Richarlison is off his game, why not give Scarlett a go? What have you got to lose? It's just been disappointed. The Wolves game played well in the first. They played quite well in the first half. But Tottenham, I don't understand. When you have the opponent's fullbacks getting booked quite early, then the winger should be attacking them all the time, because they're going to make another foul and they're going to get a second yellow. And we never seem to do that. Why don't we do that? You know, it's got to give us an advantage if the fella is either going to be taken off or you just keep attacking them. And we always seem to go to the other side once the fellas... Oh, hello. Yeah. So I don't understand why they do that. I was disappointed. Brighton, we came back on. I don't want to see us just coming back. I want to see us starting the game well and being consistent through the game. I mean, I'm not a professional footballer. I know it's difficult. They're running 12, 15 kilometres a game. Can't be easy, but I was just disappointed. I wanted to see a bit of passion, someone up for it and saying, come on, get your finger out.
Phil, do you think that Thomas Frank got the team selection right on Tuesday evening?
No, he obviously didn't, because he had to bring Kudus and Xavi on. Now, they always say that you've got to rotate it, the players get tired. But if you're not playing your best players for the Champions League game, when are you going to play them?
Mm.
Yeah. I mean, there seems to be more passion in the team when they're doing training. You've got a fella with a dead leg that he's had for about 3 weeks. There's more passion on the training field than there is when they're actually supposed to be performing.
I always say, though, Phil, that all of us fans, we always want to see the best players play every minute of every game. But it's impossible. Thomas Frank, in my opinion, has managed his squad very well. But, of course, when a result or a performance don't go our way like it did on Tuesday, I've got to admit, I was surprised when João Palhinha and Mohamed Kudus were on the bench, because arguably them two have been our best players so far this season. And particularly the amount of chances that Bodo had. I think João Palhinha needed to be in that starting 11. And like you've said about the lack of creativity, you're going to always get creativity from Mohamed Kudus. Do you think that Thomas Frank had one eye on this Leeds game coming up on Saturday?
Well, unfortunately, he's got to keep all the balls up in the air at the same time. But yes, I understand they've got to turn things around. But sorry, I'm going back into ancient history now. It's not ancient history for me. 1982, we played 67 games that season, and most of the players were in that team the whole season.
Yeah. I know you're not going to want to hear what I'm going to say. Modern day football is completely different now, isn't it? The sports science guys, they're constantly telling the managers that these players can't be playing that amount of games like they did years ago.
Yeah, I understand that, and that's why I'm accepting it. But there is some sort of problem with that. I think if you're too tired to play the games, they always used to do when they had a midweek game or something, then the players almost said, well, we want the games because there's less training. You don't have the same amount of training. I mean, I don't have the privilege of seeing at the training ground and everything else as you probably do, you know? So, I'm 17,000 miles away. But there's got to be a point where you say, hold on a second. If we're building up a squad, we're building up players, and the players aren't performing, and they haven't performed for 3 games, really. I like the resilience, and then they come back, but I don't want to see that coming back. I want them from the start.
Yeah.
It's
Phil,
as simple as that.
How frustrating has it been for you as a fan? And I'm sure Thomas Frank has been frustrated with this as well, because it looks like we have to keep playing Richarlison up front. Now, he had 55 touches in the Brighton game in the 2-2 draw. He had 10 touches on Tuesday. How do we get more out of Richarlison?
Well, it's got to be, you can. It's like you can have the best gun in the world, but unless you give it bullets, it's a waste of time. And if our midfield isn't, or the other players supporting Richarlison aren't giving him the ammunition, what do you expect him to do? It's as simple as that. I mean, yes, I've spoken before about his positioning, and he's not really a top target man. But you've got to support the guy. You've got to give him something to work with. And if he's not getting anything from the midfield, he's not like Harry Kane, who can come back and almost produce stuff for himself. And I don't like to keep harking back about Harry Kane. That's gone. That time's gone. We can go through all loads of players. And as I said before, he's not been a 20 goal a season man. So that's why if Richarlison isn't doing it, or they feel that he's not doing enough, then why not try the juniors? If you're not going to try the youngsters when the senior players are not producing, when are you going to try them? You got to give them a go. Otherwise, what's the point?
Phil, last question. What do you expect from this Leeds game on Saturday, and who do you want to see in the starting 11?
I want to see Xavi in the middle of the pitch. I want to see Polina. Sarr, that was his worst game this season because I thought we'd been playing very well. But we just seem to have players, 3 or 4, that are off at the time. So the normal back four, Pedro, Romero, and Van der Ven, and I think I'd prefer Udogie rather than Spence. And up front, you've got Kudos. And if we haven't got another player, you either give Richarlison another chance or you try one of the youngsters. As regards to the left back, I'd give Wilson Adobe another go. You can't. They're not going to produce it over 3 games. And if Richarlison is off his game, I think you've got to give Tell another shot, maybe in the centre forward position. That's what I'd say. But it's going to be a difficult game against Leeds.
What's your score prediction, Phil?
Oh, here you go. Yeah, again with the predictions. You did this to me with West Ham. You know I don't like making predictions.
Well, the West Ham one was a good one.
Yeah, I know, but yes, it's going to be hard. We don't usually do well up at Elland Road. Might be.
Well, the last couple of times we've gone up there, we've won. Yeah, the last couple of times we've gone up there, we won 4-0 and 4-1, so that's not bad at all. So let's have another 4 goals on Saturday.
That'll do me fine. That'll be fine. Can I just ask something?
Go on.
I know you've probably got a lot of people in the waiting room, but it's VAR. What is going on with VAR?
Yeah,
it's about if it takes them 7 minutes to make a decision.
Yeah.
You know, there was one on the disallowed goal, and then even the equaliser, they took tons of time. VAR is about a clear and obvious error. If it takes you 7 minutes to make a decision, it is not a clear and obvious error.
Yeah.
And I don't understand the people in charge, whether it's the Premier League, whether it's FIFA or UEFA. They've got to get their act together. Football isn't about sitting around waiting, twiddling your thumbs, waiting for someone to get his protractor out and get his ruler out and set square and saying it's offside or he's pulling. I mean, they pull up Van der Ven for pulling on the fella's shirt. I think I go to WWF sometimes when you see these conditions in the bloody box. I mean, he got wrestled to the ground against West Ham, and yet VAR and the referee saw nothing.
Do you know what,
Maybe
Phil?
They should take their guide dog on the pitch with them.
Do you know, I now expect that in the Premier League, but I don't expect it in the Champions League because for what we've seen in the Champions League, certainly in recent seasons, decisions are made really, really quickly. So for us to wait that amount of time the other night on Tuesday, that was very disappointing. That they do need to up their game, so to speak. VAR, it's and I agree with you. If it's not clear and obvious, that's exactly what it was brought in for. It's frustrating for a lot of the fans. But Phil, great to talk to you again. Thanks for getting up so early for us, and we'll talk to you again soon.
No problems at all. Maybe you can see me at my best if you do about 5 o'clock in the afternoon. See you later.
Cheers, Phil. Right, joining us for the first time on the channel is Stu. Stu, how are you?
I'm very well, Chris. How about yourself?
Yeah, very good. Of course, you made the trip to Bodo, same as me, to go to Norway. How was your trip?
Yeah, I had a great time. It's probably one of the best trips I've actually had in general. Obviously, my local boys didn't come with me, but I went with obviously other people. But as you know, I was there for the semi-final, so I met a lot of locals, and they just made the trip extremely special. So it was pretty much better than the game itself.
Yeah. On my flight out, Fabio Paracci was on the plane. I saw that you met him. What did you say?
I asked him for a left winger and to bring back Harry Kane. He smiled at me. He didn't answer. He just smiled. So we can all dream. We can all dream.
Stu, let me ask, how are you feeling right now as a Spurs fan? Because if you go online, it seems to be a bit flat. You go to the games, I think people are a little bit more up for it. Is that a fair comment? Because when you think about it, in 17 days we've played 6 games, we've won 3, we've drawn 3. I know some of the manner in we've had to come back in 3 of these games. 2-0 down at Brighton, we came back. And then, of course, the Wolves game last weekend, the Bodo game on Tuesday. But how are you actually feeling right now? Are you confident with Thomas Frank? Because I've seen a few negative comments these last few days.
Yeah, no, I'm still very, very confident. I still think he's the right man to take us forward. I honestly believe that. I just think it takes time. You've got to remember we're overhauling a style of play. We've played for 2 seasons. It's completely different to what we're playing now. It's going to take time. These things do not happen overnight. And this is what a lot of the fans do not understand. They're very quick to jump on the bandwagon and say, oh, it's the system, it's this, that, it's the rest of it. Yeah, look, we can all improve. We all make mistakes. But at some point, you have to give him time. Like you said, he's only been in charge now for a few months. And, we're 11 points after 6 games, you know, getting through the draw on Tuesday, sorry, was, yes, the display was not the greatest in the world, but I thought Bodo were absolutely fantastic, by the way. I thought they completely done a City on us where we pressed Man City. I thought Bodo done that. We just couldn't get out, and they're used to the conditions, they're used to the pitch. And I sat there not after the game and I was happy with a point because I generally thought Bodo, they surprised me. I spoke to a lot of their fans after the game and they even said to me it's the best performance they've seen them play.
Yeah.
And for me, that just summed it up. They raised their level. I thought we didn't really give them the respect that we needed with our team lineup. And I think that was the only disappointing thing for me when I saw the lineup. I thought we're in the Champions League. We can't be coming to these places thinking, oh, it's just Bodo, because any team on the day will beat anyone in the Champions League. They're there for a reason. But I'm happy with Thomas Frank. I think he's definitely the right man. Again, I would like to see the football more free flowing, of course, but we have to be realistic, and it's going to take a bit of time. We're still missing some very, very key players. Kulusevski, they're injured. James Maddison, we haven't had Slanky this season. Moani's come in to actually boast the firepower. We've actually lost him. So at the moment have got some players out at the moment that are going to make a massive difference of when they come back into this team. But for now, I just think we have to be a bit patient and be realistic of where we actually are. We are just starting out in a new process, unfortunately, again. And at some point, we have to stick with a manager and let him have that time and let him have that time to build. Thomas Frank will be in no disillusion. He needs 2 or 3 more players that he would want for that squad to be completed. And I think when he gets that, we will definitely see the best of what he can do for us as a football club.
Stu, I use that word a lot as well about being realistic. What is realistic for you? You go to home games, away games, same as me. You talk to a lot of people, but what is a realistic season for Thomas Frank? What could we achieve this season, would you say?
I think I'd be disappointed if we wasn't hitting around probably 5th in the Premier League. We're not. I think we should be aiming for that 5th spot. I believe obviously, likes of Arsenal, obviously Man City, and Liverpool. I expect them to be the top 3. I think that 4th and 5th place is up for grabs. I look at us. I look at Chelsea. I think we'll be in around that. I think maybe like to Palace there at the moment. Will they sustain that for the season playing in Europe? I'm not quite sure. So I think if we end up above, probably below them 5th in the Premier League, I think it's a disappointing season, to be honest. Even in Thomas Frank's first, Champions League, realistically, personally, I think we'll probably get to maybe quarterfinals, meet a big gun. I think we might be too much for us then. And then I think in the domestic cups, I think we've definitely got to have a run at one of them for sure.
In terms of players, who has impressed you so far this season, and who needs to give more?
Obviously the usual. I think Romero's been very good. I think but the whole back line's been good as a unit. Sarr's been absolutely fantastic for me. I think he's been arguably our player of the season so far. Kudus as well. I didn't really watch too much of him, to be honest, at West Ham, but he's absolutely surprised me with his running power, his strength, his ability to roll players. He's exactly what Spurs have needed for a long time. And it's just a shame that we haven't got somebody at the moment that's quite anywhere near that level to play on the opposite side, is where we are struggling. Obviously, we're playing against certain teams now, and they're kind of shadowing us down the left-hand side, because that's our weaker side. So, but yeah, I think there's a few players that have. Bergfield, obviously, again. Palinia is just a fantastic signing for us. I think he's just exactly what, again, Spurs have needed, that holding centre midfielder, just somebody to sit in there and break play up. And as you saw on Tuesday, Chris, where he come on, the game changed completely. He wins headers, he gives it simple, doesn't evade the space where he needs to be. He's a very, very good number 6, and I think that's a massive difference to us. So yeah, there's a few there.
Vicario didn't seem very happy during the game and even after the game on Tuesday. What have you made of Vicario this season?
Like I'm a massive lot of love for Vicario, but I am kind of getting to the point where I'm trying to weigh it up now. I'm trying to look at the good and the bad of him. Obviously his shot stopping ability is very good, but lately he started being a bit adjust to it. He's conceding goals that he wouldn't normally concede. Again, start the season, I thought he looked a bit better with the ball at his feet. As games are going on now, I feel he's getting worse again. He's going back into kind of old habits. The second goal, on Tuesday, the way we conceded it come from a full back, a back pass come out to clear up the field. And I'm sorry, that ball's not bobbing on that pitch. And to basically balloon that up in the air, it's just kind of inexcusable, really. I'm at a stage now where I wouldn't be disappointed if Kingsley got a good run of games now. I just would like to see Kingsley come in. I believe he's better with his feet. And I just don't think Vicario, the way we're trying to play out from the back, I just don't think he's going to be at that keeper to be able to do it for us. Most keepers around the world at top level, they can do it all. And I keep asking myself, is Vicario at that standard to carry us forward to where we want to be as a football club?
Stu, what's your take on Richarlison? Because, of course, at the start of the season, he scored 2 fantastic goals against Burnley in our first game. And then when you think back to those 2 cup finals, the Europa League final and the Super Cup final, probably, arguably 2 of his best performances in a Spurs shirt. He had 10 touches on Tuesday. Does he need to do more? Does the team around him need to do more? How do we get him involved a lot more, and how do we get him scoring goals a lot more? Because it must be very frustrating for Thomas Frank. Mawani, of course, has never had an injury. Comes to Tottenham, he's missed 3 games already.
Yep.
Dominic Solanke had hardly any injuries at all at Bournemouth. He comes to Spurs, and of course now he's had minor surgery. He says he's going to be back in the near future. We don't quite know when that's going to be, but Thomas Frank's going to have to play Richarlison up front again, isn't he, against Leeds?
Yeah, Richarlison's just a very frustrating figure for me. Obviously I've watched him over the last couple of years. There's been a few games he's kind of level. He's played at a good enough level to play where we want him to be. But like you just mentioned on the 2 cup finals, especially like the game we lost to PSG, I thought it was absolutely fantastic. And I thought, oh my God, we've got a new Richarlison here. And then even against Burnley, I thought it was a handful. And then I think his performances have slowly dithered out as the season's gone on. And for me, is there any coincidence that since Solanke's been not even on the bench, that his standards have dropped? Has he now got complacent where he's thinking, I haven't got a Dom Solanke breathing down my neck. I know I'm going to start this week. I'm going to start on Saturday. Because at the moment, there's nobody else that's going to take his starting place as a number 9, because we haven't got anyone. I don't think Tell's the answer. Tell is definitely not the answer for number 9 for me. But I just think his standards are dropping. I do think players get comfortable. They almost think like they're going to be not going to be dropped. Would he be playing this bad if, like I said, Solanke was fit, if Mawani was fit? Or would he have to play at that certain level to produce to stay in the team? That's the issue I have with him. I just feel like he's not doing enough himself. I think his running stopped. That was his strength. His strength was being an absolute menace, putting the centre backs under pressure, winning headers, winning tackles. And he was almost that focal figure at the front for us, where he was pressing, setting off the chain. I don't see him doing that as what he did at the start of the season. Obviously, I understand that we're not exactly helping him with the creative players behind him at the moment. We're trying to put square pegs in round holes at the moment to fit players into our side, which I don't necessarily agree with, but I understand why he's doing it at the moment.
Stu, last question. Score prediction and the team that you would like to face Leeds on Saturday.
I would definitely start with, I'd go with Kinski in goal. I would change up the goalkeeper this week. I would go Kinski. I'd take Vicario out the firing line. I think he's had a bit of flat the last few games. I would just take him out for a few games. Just take him out, let him have a national break to reset. I would start with Udogie, obviously Romero if he's fit, Mickey van der Ven, Porro. Polinia is 100% got to start as a 6 for me. Then I would obviously play So this is a difficult thing. This is where I understand where he's going, because you can either have to drop Pape Sarr, Burnville, to get Xavi Simons in a 10. So this is a difficult dilemma he's got, and I understand it completely. But I would definitely play Xavi as a 10. I want to see him as a 10. So if I had to pick one or the other away from home, I'd probably go with Sarr. I'd go Odegaard left, Kudus right, and I would stick with Richarlison again, just in the hope that he comes through. Score prediction, I think we'll be okay against Leeds. Like I said, I know they're built for. I think all the players, I believe, are over like 6'3" or whatever they are. They're built for set pieces. But I think Spurs should have enough to get the job done. I'll go for a clean sheet as well, 2-0.
Brilliant. Stu, you've been a great guest. Thank you so much, and we'll try and get you on the main podcast very soon as well.
Absolutely appreciate it. Thank you very much, Chris.
Cheers, Stu. Right, let's now go to Charlie. Charlie, how are you?
Hi, Chris. I'm good, thanks. How are you?
Very good. Very good, thank you, yes. You looking forward to the Leeds game Saturday?
Yes. I mean, look, last week obviously came on the show and you said it was a bit flat at Tottenham. And I think you said it earlier that it was a bit flat. But I disagree with that, actually. I think it's very, very lot of stuff going on. Obviously, 3 draws in a row. I think I said it in my player ratings. It's great that we're coming back and showing the character to win these games, but I don't want us to show character to win these games. I want us to be in a position that we don't have to come back and show character. So yeah, I think it's very, very big, this Leeds game. We really, really need a win going into international break. I remember before the World Cup, we played Leeds. We needed a win there, to set us on a high before, obviously, a massive break from Tottenham. And now I think we need to have a high before going into his international break. And yeah, I think another thing I wanted to say quickly is Kinski needs to start playing. As Stu just said it, it's time to give Kinski a go. I'm a bit fed up of Vicario now. That mistake against Wolves, the mistake against Brighton, and then look at Kinski against Doncaster. Yes, I expect Kinski to be making saves against Doncaster, but he made that one really good one. I want to see him a bit more than Vicario now, because I'm fed up of him making these mistakes. I really, really am. Stu, when you saw Paratici, you should have said left winger, Harry Kane, goalkeeper.
Charlie, let me ask you about João Palhinha. Spurs have an option at the end of the season, £26 million. Got to be done, hasn't it?
Oh, I'll do it now. I'll do it tomorrow. It is so good. Honestly, what a signing. My dad told me months before we signed him, Charlie, I've been looking at sixes for us to get. We need to get João Palhinha. And I think at the time West Ham were in for him. And that, I don't think that worked out. I think it was very minor interest. And obviously we put our interest in. We got the here we go, and it all went through. And yeah, since then he's been brilliant. He was amazing in the Super Cup. He was amazing in pretty much every game he's played, and I'm utterly delighted with the way Palhinha's played. He settled in really, really well. And I know some people say, "Oh, his age, is he going to be at the top level for so long?" But I look at Palhinha, and I think he's a player who can. He's 29. He can go on until he's 35. I think he's that good of a player, and he's made that sixth position his own. If we were to go through now, Chris, what's Tottenham's best team? I think we'd have Palhinha in that six. Utterly delighted with him and Kudus.
When I said earlier that it kind of feels flat at the moment, I think a lot of people agree with that. Should it feel flat? Because we've only lost one league game. Now, if I was to ask you at the start of the season, before a ball was even kicked, that, on the 2nd of October we are now, we'd have played 6 Premier League games, we'd have lost one. We're sitting in the top 4. We're only 4 points away from league leaders and champions Liverpool. We're through to the 4th round of the Carabao Cup, and we're unbeaten in the Champions League. Should it feel flat?
Depends how you see the word flat, I think. If you see flat as, everything...
Well, everyone just feels a bit,
I don't feel at all. I mean, if we're feeling every week, Chris, I'm going to become only very, very happy, because it probably means that we're doing something okay and on our way to something big, which is what I want. I want to feel sometimes. I don't always want to feel sometimes I want to be like, yeah, come on, that was amazing. But I'd rather feel than feel like this is our third defeat in the row. We've just lost to Everton and Leicester. You know, this isn't good enough. I'd rather feel that than that. But, you know, we really, really need a win against Leeds. This is such... I mean, it's Leeds, you know. It's obviously not... When we look back at the season, we're not going to look at it and say, oh, that Leeds game was such a big game for us. At the end of the season, we might look back and say, oh, the Man City game we won 2-0 was a massive game for us and a huge, huge win. But I think we need to go back to winning ways. Since the last international break, we've only won one game, and that was against West Ham, who have now sacked their manager. And so it does feel a bit flat, but I think we've all got to put our eyes ahead. The thing that's probably keeping me going, not feeling so flat, is that I want Kinski to play. I really, really want Kinski to play. As I said earlier, I'm fed up of Vicario making these mistakes. It's really, really annoying me. Every week, it's the same thing. And my granddad has been saying it for over 2 years. I've never seen my granddad be so against a player. He does not like Vicario at all. And he's been at him. If you watch my YouTube, you will know my granddad does not like Vicario. And now I'm very much starting to agree with him. Vicario, you know, give Kinski a go. Teach Vicario a lesson. Vicario comes back in. Better goalie like we saw at the start of the Ange era.
Scott here on YouTube says it feels flat because it's so quiet at the ground on match days. Only the fans can change this. Do the fans need to do a little bit more?
Yeah, I think so. He's very right there. I think, you know, we're not making... We're making noise, you know, but the Wolves game this Sunday, before the game, I think is it the concourse? There was this guy who was starting all the chants. He go, you can hear him crying at the bridge, and Kudus is on fire. You know, that felt good. But when the game began, you know, all I felt was, you know, when are we going to get a goal? When are we going to get a goal? And it felt
Any more?
The fans, pardon?
Any more?
Lots more.
Charlie, who would you like to see start the game on Saturday? Because
Kinski.
I feel like this is such a big game, isn't it? Because it's the early kickoff on a Saturday.
Yeah.
It's before an international break. You know, a lot of fans will be going, oh, it's before an international break, because our record in the last couple of years have been abysmal.
It's a massive game, like I said. You know, we probably won't look back at the end of the season and think it's a massive game. But for us right now, 3 draws in a row, it's a big game. We need to get back to winning ways. 12:30. I'm quite annoyed it's 12:30. I wanted to go watch Wickham and George Abbott, but I'm only watching Tottenham instead. I love watching Abbott. He's so good for Wickham. Honestly, he runs the show in League One. Just to add in that, I know I'm sidetracking there, but he's absolutely amazing. But yeah, you know, we need to get back to winning ways. That's absolutely crucial. Yeah, it's an important game.
Last question for you. Who's been your player of the season so far? I know we're only 6 league games in, but of course we've had a Carabao Cup game, 2 Champions League. So, you know, 9 competitive games so far this season, 10 if you want to count the Super Cup. Who's been your player, you know, your standout player or players?
Well, normally if I would say an attacker, I'd have wanted the attacker to score a goal. But this player hasn't scored a goal. But he's starting fires. It's Mohamed Kudus. Oh, I think he's been amazing. I think him and Paulinho, they're here. I'd say Sar's about here. And the rest of them are like here. I'm not saying that here is bad. I'm saying that Kudus, Paulinho, and probably Sar, they're doing so well that you have to put the others a fair bit below them, because I've been so impressed with them too. But Kudus, I'd say, just edges it. You know, for me, we bought Odebert last summer. I'm getting a bit fed up with him as well. You know, he's given me too much of a Johnson vibe. And I love Johnson. I think he's a legend. He scored the goal in Bilbao. But, I mean, he just doesn't seem to do enough. He came in. I remember I watched a live stream the day we signed him, and they were like, oh, here's all the stuff he's done. He's got around all these players in the Premier League. Oh, it's going to be an amazing sign. I just haven't seen it from him. The only game I can actually remember Odegaard, where I was like, wow, Odegaard, man of the match. That was absolutely amazing. Was AZ Alkmaar, the second leg where he scored 2 goals. That's it. And Kudus has come in and basically shown Odegaard, look, not shown him. I mean, Odegaard's done well. I'm not going to say he hasn't. You know, he scored, was it 4 goals last season? I think that's not bad coming into a new team. But Kudus has done what we needed. We were obviously in for Eze a lot. And, you know, why do you want Eze? Because he can get round his man. Kudus can get round his man. And that's what Tottenham have needed. That's the player we've needed. That and a 6. So, for me, Kudus takes it because he can... like the Brighton game, I said it in my player ratings. How on earth have they given Kadioglu the man of the match in that game on the speaker? But Kudus has beat him every time in the second half and gets 2 assists. That I didn't get. I thought Kudus was man of the match in that game. He was good in the Super Cup. He's been good in all the games, Kudus. So Kudus is so far player of the season. I want to have a few more names and 3 up there by the end. Palhinha closely second and Sarr third.
Charlie, thank you so much.
Thank you.
What have you got going on YouTube at the moment?
Well, this is the last year before I change it up. Next year, I'm really, really going to change it up. I'm going to try do 3 videos a week, match preview, match reaction and match day vlog. And if, obviously, we're away and I can't get a ticket, I will put my phone up, record myself for the game, and they'll get to see how I react to all the goals. That'll only be a short video. But for this season, we stick to the matchday vlogs. Aston Villa will be the next video. And then I don't really know where it goes after that. I haven't seen all the fixtures. I don't know them off by heart. Yeah, very exciting times.
Well, for anyone watching or listening, do subscribe to Charlie's channel. He's a regular here, and he does the regular videos after each game, giving the player rating. So you would have seen him a lot on this channel from the start of this season. Charlie, thank you so much, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you so much, Chris. See you soon. Thank you.
Right. We're now going to go to another regular, and it's John over in Canada. John, how are you?
Could be better.
How are you feeling right now, John?
About Tottenham, not well. About myself, not well, but that's another story. I think as Tottenham supporters, we have a nose for when things are not going quite right. And things are not going quite right. And I'm getting a little tired of Thomas Frank and other players on cue saying, we show character and we came from behind. Right? I don't want you to show character and come from behind. I want you to go out there at kick-off and show character, play through 90 minutes and give us an emphatic win. And that's what I think is missing. And that's why we're all a bit flat. Leeds, this is important. If we come away from Leeds without a win, we're going to be even more, oh my God, what now? And we're getting close to the, shall we call it the event horizon where we're going to get sucked into a black hole and never come back out again. He's got to turn that around. He's got to give us a decent win on Saturday. And what's the game after? Aston Villa. We got to win that one as well. Show some determination. I don't want to hear we show character. I want to hear we played well and we won.
What needs to change then, in your opinion, then, John?
Well, Richarlison, I think, needs to change. I think the goalkeeper needs to change. I think we need to see some character from them. And I think Richarlison, okay, he's all we got, they tell. Well, if he's not pulling his weight, then let's go with Dane and Scarlett. And if we can't bring back who's the lad? I forgot his name now. He's out on loan at I know what I'm sorry, my brain is not what it used to.
Jamie Donnelly?
Donnelly, yeah. We can't bring Jamie Donnelly back. I suppose we can't do that to the midwinter break or maybe even next year. But it's a pity. I think, we've got to send him a message. You get off your backside, Mr. Richarlison. We played a long time. We've played a long time along with you, and we don't see you putting out the commitment that we think you should be putting out. That maybe sound harsh by me, but there we are.
No one's right or wrong, John. It's all opinions.
True.
What have you made of the character that Tottenham have showed in these games to come back? I know it's frustrating. It's frustrating watching us, going down, and then it's great seeing us coming back into games. But I completely agree with you. We want to be taking, we want to be starting games a lot better and putting the ball in the back of the net. But I think it's probably the right thing to say is that last year we might have lost these games, and Thomas Frank has come out and said a number of times, look, if you can't win a game, don't lose it. And that Wolves game, I hate to say it, and I hate these terms, Dr. Tottenham and Spursy, the amount of people that said that before the game, and I was like, don't have that mentality, we're going to go and win. And when you think of that, about that first half, it was a good first half. We should have scored.
We should have scored 2 or 3. We should have scored 2 or 3 against Wolves in that first half. We should have been out of sight walking off at half time. But we weren't. We let them off the hook. And I said to the gooner in my life, here we go. And sure enough, 10 minutes into the second half, we're 1 down and we're struggling to come back. And, that really is annoying consistently. Okay, yes, they recovered it. Yes, we got a point. But we should have been 3 up at half time. And that's because we got lack of forwards or lack of somebody scoring goals.
What do you make, John, of the lack of creativity in the last couple of games? Because... And also, let me ask you about Thomas Frank. Are you still really behind Thomas Frank? Because I've been surprised, I must say, by the negativity that he has received in the last few days, particularly online. And I know online, can be a pretty toxic place and not real sometimes. But when you see some genuine fans, and even when I got on the plane coming home from Norway, there were a couple of fans going, "Oh, I'm not really taken by the football that I've seen."
Well, Thomas Frank, okay, he has a good record. Let's not be negative there. Ange Postecoglou, who had a super record at Celtic, okay, and we hung him out to dry, which I was sad about. I don't want a mid-season change of horses. I don't want him to feel he's under massive pressure. After all, you turn around and say, "Well, you're in fourth place. What more do you want?" I'm sorry. I think the answer is we need to see coming out of him some dynamism that we as Tottenham fans want to see our team play. We want to see our team go out there and go forward. What was the old Danny say? You don't want to bore them to death. Go out there and score a few goals.
Is it about is it about small steps at a time, though, John?
Okay, how many small steps do we take over a season? How many small steps?
I'm just asking the question.
Have we taken over in my lifetime? Sooner or later, someone's got to say, "Yeah, all right, enough's enough. We got to do something."
No, but when I said that stat earlier that we've played 6 games in 17 days, that's a pretty tough schedule, and we've come out unbeaten in that. I know some people won't like the way that we've played, and some people won't like drawing 2-2 away at Bodo Glimt on Tuesday, and they won't like the fact that we've drawn 1-1 at home against Wolves, having them having lost 5 in a row before that. But I feel that perhaps last season or a season before, we might have lost some of these games where we've actually come back into it and actually got something out of it.
I agree with you totally. And
that isn't me saying that's good enough, by the way.
no, I agree that we've made a step forward from the situation where we would have collapsed and said, that's it, turn out the lights, we're gonna see this one to the end and walk off and apologize to everybody. Okay, all right, we're not as badly as put away as in that situation now, but surely we've put a lot of money into a lot of players, and we expect these players to put out.
Yeah,
and majority of them, I fear, are not.
Who?
My point.
Who?
Well, Richarlison for one. I'd like to see the goalkeeper. I think has been, should we say, a little suspect.
I didn't expect so many of you this evening to be talking about Vicario being replaced in goal.
Well, there we are. So, I mean, a lot of us perhaps have looked at him and said, "Well, hang on a minute, what's going on?" They quote the mistake against Wolves that led to the goal. They quote I didn't see the Bodo game, I must admit. I was elsewhere. These guys can't all lie. You had one of your other lads on there the other day. I'm doing the 60-second update, and he was a little suspect about Vicario as well. Okay, so maybe the boy needs a break. Put him aside, bring in his Czech, isn't he, the other lad? Give him a run. Let's see. And if Richarlison doesn't want to move a little bit more, then give Dan Scarlett a run. You've got a 17-year-old there, I understand, who's poking in goals all over the place.
Yeah.
Let's give him a run.
John, last question. Who would you like to see in the team against Leeds at Ellen Road on Saturday? Javi Simmons in a number 10 for you?
Fair enough. I'd want to see Gray play, actually, because I think that will give him a boost, give the team a boost, and he can tell his old fans, well, okay, I've come of age. I'm playing at Tottenham. I'm no longer playing at Leeds. But there we are. That's okay. If Jamie Simmons, give him half hour, and if he don't work out, take him off, and put on young Gray and give him a game.
Are you confident he'll win?
No, I'm not. I'm not at all confident of a win. I want to win. Am I confident for one? No. I'm sorry.
Okay. Well, we like honesty on here, John.
Okay, well, I try to be as honest as I can, Chris. You know that.
Yeah.
And I won't beat around the bush and say it's wonderful we pulled out a draw.
Yeah.
I want to see a win.
Well, let's hope that we do see a win on Saturday. And John, health-wise, we wish you well, and hopefully things will improve, and hopefully we'll get to talk to you very soon again.
Thank you very much, Chris. Take care.
Cheers.
Good luck to everybody. Bye.
Right, we're now going to go to channel regular Si. Si, how are you?
I can't hear you, mate. I'll have to come out and go in again. I can't hear you.
No problem. Right, let's go to Luke. Luke, how are you?
Hi, Chris. How you doing?
Yeah, very well. Luke, how are you feeling right now as a Spurs fan? Because as I've said to a number of the other guests, we've lost one game this season, and I don't know, it just feels really flat. It feels really flat at the moment amongst the fan base. How are you feeling?
I feel fine. I'm not on that particular trainer. I think you know me, I love the stats, so I'm keeping an eye on them constantly. And I think that one thing that stands out to me is that this team needs a lot of work. It needs a lot of work. I think everybody said at the end of last season, we won a trophy, let's kick on. But you can't, you're kicking on from 17th, which would suggest there's a lot of work to be done. And here's a little stat for you that in the Premier League, in the history of the 38 game Premier League season, there's only been 3 occasions where a team has both conceded and scored over 60 goals. And on all 3 occasions, it's been Tottenham, right? So 2007-8, which was obviously, funnily enough, the last time we won a trophy. We finished 11th. Then in 22-23 under Conte, we finished 8th, and then Conte got sacked before the end of the season. And then last season, under Ange, where again, weirdly enough, we won a trophy, but we finished 17th. And how many of our defenders are new this year? We haven't replaced any of them. We've got the same ones. So there's a lot of work that needs to go into the defensive solidity of the team. And I have to say, that's the boring bit. It's the bit that isn't necessarily fun to watch. I mean, I always played centre half myself, so I do actually quite like watching a good battle at the back. But it's not the bit that's the glamorous bit that excites people. And we've talked so much in the last few years in particular, and even Daniel Levy started saying it, like, well, I wanted them to play the Tottenham way. And we like exciting football, but I also, I heard a commentator say it last year and I scuffed at it when he said it, but he's right that at the end of the day, would you prefer to see a ridiculously high line and occasionally we win 4-0 against someone, or a team that's more pragmatic? And people will have their preferences, but what Frank is doing is building, he's working on it. And I also think we're all going on about the forward line. Pick me out a player that scores 20 plus goals a season in that forward line regularly, even in their replacements. There's not one. None of them have ever done it. So what are we expecting them to do? Suddenly hit the ground running and be banging them in like Harry Kane? And we don't even have Son anymore, who hadn't done that for a couple of years before he left. So for me, he hasn't necessarily got the team that maybe if he was given 2, 3, 4 years, he would have, if he had more transfer windows and was able to update and continually progress the side. And, that's what we wanted with Poch, right? Poch came in and tried to build defensive solidity. It wasn't too glamorous at first. I think a lot of people moaned in his first season, if you remember, and then it started to get better. I think Frank's doing a very similar thing. So, yeah, I don't feel negative about it. I think it needs work, it needs time, and it needs patience. And I can be like this too, football fans are fickle. And that's the worst thing about it. It's difficult, but I'm confident that things were good. The reason I mentioned that stat as well before about the goals scored and conceded is look how many we've conceded. I think we've conceded 4
in the
7
Premier League,
games.
Yeah.
And we've scored more than that. So I think we're doing fine. We're improving already. We're already tighter at the back. We've already had more clean sheets, or as many as we had last season, something like that. It's ridiculous. So, yeah, I'm not too pessimistic about it, Chris. I feel that it is a work in progress, and I'm happy to accept it as that.
We looked a very different team, Luke, didn't we, on Tuesday, without the likes of Romero at the back, Mohamed Kudus and João Palhinha. Of course, them two were on the bench. We look a very different team without them.
I mean, we're forgetting because with Ange, I think people saw the injuries happen during the season and they'd seen that we'd been playing a bit better before those players got injured. There was this feeling like, oh, that's hard luck. We've been hard done by. But because we've started the season with those players being injured, Maddison and Solanke and Kulusevski haven't kicked a ball. I think maybe Solanke might have got a minute or two, but they've barely played. So those 3 players change the team instantly if they come back in, even if they're on the bench. And I think so people are viewing Frank's start to the year without keeping those players in mind and what they could possibly do because they've never seen them play under Frank. The problem is there's definitely the squad. I still think we're suffering from years of poor recruitment as well. I think we've got players that I just think aren't really good enough, which I know is harsh to say. I watched that game the other night and I hate to say it because I think it was Charlie mentioned it earlier. Brennan Johnson's a legend, but for me, he looked like he was playing himself out of the club. Like if you're a winger and you're facing up against a fullback and you've got two options, and one is to try and take them on and potentially fail, or to just turn around and pass the ball back. I'm going for option A more because that's the job I'm supposed to do. Otherwise, I just start looking like I'm too scared to do my job, and that's what he was doing. And as soon as Kudus came on, he just had a go, didn't he? He was straight up the wing, straight past people, and you saw how much further up the pitch we progressed with Kudus on the pitch. And for me, as a professional, if you're sitting there as you're Johnson, you've just come off and you've seen Kudus do that, what you should be saying is, right, next week, next chance I get, I'm doing that, because look at the difference that makes. But we've seen him do that. He's watched Kudus play. He hasn't come on and then tried to do it. So for me, the squad is not where it needs to be. We're too weak when we make too many changes. It does happen to other teams, but I think the squad generally rotating really, really weakens us, and only I think time and transfer windows are going to fix that.
Look, in terms of the competitive games, and if we included the Super Cup final, it's 10 games under Thomas Frank. What have you made of the style of football that we've seen under Frank so far? And what do you make of the huge emphasis on set pieces?
I think the set piece reliance is being built in or being pushed to try and make sure that we have an attacking edge or a sort of danger to us, whilst we're still trying to build solid defensive structures, and our attacking play isn't quite there yet. And I think you can see it, that the individual quality of Kudus, and I hope going forward, Xavi, will make a difference to the attack in the team. But if I'm honest, the thing I was watching really closely on Tuesday, I was watching Richarlison's positioning. And I don't know, maybe I'm being overly critical again. Maybe it's I'm in the wrong place to say this because I used to play centre half, but I would love it if the striker was tight to me, because I'd think, what are you doing, mate? You need to be making me think about whether or not I need to step off my line to come to you and leave space behind, or am I going to chase you across the pitch if you're running over that way? I need to know where you are. And Richarlison's just sort of standing there next to the centre half. He receives the ball and he's lost it immediately. Sorry, I forgot what your question was about the set piece.
I was going to say, Luke, that about Richarlison there, after the Brighton game, Thomas Frank said in the press conference that Richarlison perhaps needs to get into better positions, because we were putting in a number of crosses, and when the wingers are putting in really good crosses, you expect the centre forward to be in the right position to obviously finish. I believe that Dominic Solanke would be far better at that. Would you go along with that? And to tell a player like Richarlison, who is a Brazilian international, you need to get in a better position. It's frustrating, isn't it? Because he should be there.
But if you look at the game against Burnley, where he scored twice and played really well, Burnley were pushed deep by our wing play, and then their centre halves had a bad day. They just let him get off him. He managed to get a few feet between himself and the centre halves, and he scored twice from that. And then against Buddha the other night, he just couldn't get away from them. He just couldn't seem to get far enough away from them, whatever he did. What I think Solanke does brilliantly is Solanke would just drop deeper. He would just come further off them. And like I said earlier, he'd make the centre half think twice about whether or not they should follow him or stick to their line. And I just thought it was really bizarre. I kept watching him thinking, is he glued to one of them? Because he's really struggling to get away from them every time the ball comes to him. Solanke would, I think, play a bit deeper, prefer to play it deeper, play off, to distribute and then to sort of get forward. So, yeah, but why can't he be coached to do that differently? Because he's done it sort of 3 or 4 games in a row now, which is really frustrating to watch. Thomas Frank did mention it after Brighton, but he did it again against Bodo. So I thought, although maybe it's unfair to judge because we just, as a team, didn't really have particularly good control of the ball. We couldn't get out against Bodo. Every pass was misplaced, or it was just slightly too far away from the feet of the player it was going to, which meant they could intercept it really quickly. So we never really got any rhythm. But yeah, I think he's a little bit too lightweight. He's not very good at holding the ball up. So, sorry, back to what you asked before. I think the emphasis on the set pieces is to give us strength where things like Richarlison, for example, in that centre forward role isn't working, but our options are slim. I kind of agree with what a couple of your guests have said about it'd be nice to see Scarlett have a go, but we know that it's not just Frank, it's all managers. They just don't really like doing that, do they? I've so rarely seen them decide to just put a youngster up front. They just don't like to do that in big games, because I think you take massive flack if a youngster doesn't perform. So I think he's building, and I like that. I think he's building layers, and I think it will get better. But I don't think we can expect to suddenly be. I have to disagree with your guest earlier. I really don't think 5th is realistic. I think there's a whole season to go almost.
Well, Luke. I know you love your stats. So the supercomputer at the start of the season predicted Spurs would finish 14th. And then the supercomputer, after a few Premier League games, changed it to Spurs finishing 7th. What is realistic?
Well, how can the supercomputer predict it after every match week? That's not right, is it? As you do it at the start of the season, the prediction's based on nothing.
I actually think it was after that Man City game. I think the supercomputer was like, "Whoa, Tottenham have won at City." And putting a performance like that, they must be doing things this season.
I don't know. I saw someone on Twitter the other day saying like, like Juju so bad against City that even Eric Dyer scored a penalty against them in the Champions League. Like, they must absolutely hate Tottenham. So obviously the supercomputer hasn't got any history. But one positive stat for you is that the Premier League was on XG, we are the highest overperforming team in the Premier League at the moment. So there we go. There's something to be proud of, and that's a positive thing.
That's a good thing, isn't it? It is a good thing.
Yeah.
So is with you saying that, is there are the Spurs fans expecting too much?
I think that it's the problem is, and this is the thing that the issue we always had with Daniel Levy was that there was a part of the club that was progressing so quickly in terms of its ambition, and it completely outstripped what we were doing on the pitch. So we look at our stadium, we have got an enormous fan base. We saw that when we won the trophy at the parade. We saw how many people came out, and I've seen footage from on your channel as well of people all over the world celebrating that win. We are a massive club when it comes to our fan base now back in. So no, we should be expecting big things off them. We should be, but they've let us down in different ways over the years with poor recruitment, not getting the players they needed at certain times, and maybe being a bit too quick and rash with sacking. So no, I think we should have high expectations. That's absolutely fine. But realism is a separate thing, isn't it? And I think that Frank's building needs time, I honestly think as well, they got to get a couple of players out of the club they struggled to sell in the summer. Get a couple in, maybe one in January and a couple more next summer. Start to shape the team the way he wants it to go. Just look at it this way, right? Look at his Brentford side, who finished higher than us last season, but generally around sort of 10th. And look at the forwards that he had and where they've now gone, and how much they went for. Visser and Mbeumo went for big money, and they are really, really good players who had incredible return in goals and assists last season. And then you go Odegaard, Johnson, and you say he, ironically, may have come to a bigger club than Brentford, but in those two positions that are crucial, he's working with less, in my opinion. And that's tough. So either he turns them into something spectacular, as he did do with Mbeumo and Visser, or he has to get someone else in. And that takes time. We have to wait for that. That doesn't happen overnight.
Luke, last question for you, because honestly, me and you could talk about Tottenham all night. Who is going to be our first choice left winger from now until the end of the season, would you say? Who do you think Thomas Frank fancies in that role? Because I think Javi Simmons has to go in the number 10 at some point. Who is going to play left wing the majority of games?
But doesn't the fact that he keeps putting him there and people keep getting angry about it show you that he doesn't trust the people that could play there? It speaks volumes to me that he keeps putting Xavi on the left when he could put Odegaard, Johnson, Tell. He's going, sorry, but I don't think they're going to do what I need them to do in this game. I'd rather put Xavi there and Bergvall in the 10, and I'd rather have it's the old thing of put the best players you've got on the pitch, even if they're slightly out of position. You know, it's a school of thought, but it's what he seems to be going with. I've got this weird feeling. I think it's eventually, if he gets over having dead legs, it's going to be Muani, because the guy has got incredible pace. I said in a stat of the week a little while ago that he's consistently overperformed his own XG wherever he's played. You know, he's a really good finisher, very good at finishing from an angle in the box, and he can play on the left wing. So I've got a feeling that once Solanke's back, we still don't fully know the extent of that injury, do we? But if he gets back this season, Solanke up front with Muani on the left, Xavi in the 10, and Kudus on the right, I think that's a pretty potent attack, I reckon. But we'll see. If not, I actually, going forward, I think I would rather see Odebear get given more of a chance on the left. And for him to get the games if Muani's not fit, and Xavi to be in that 10 position, because we've all seen it. He's changed games in the 10. And he did the other night. He came on and he just has this thing. I really like Bergvall, and I'm not talking Bergvall out of the team. But for me, I think Bergvall's still learning his trade there in that position. And the thing I saw against Brighton between Xavi and Bergvall was still on the pitch, obviously, but he'd kind of moved into a kind of 8 role at that point, was where they received the ball more often. And Xavi was just taking it a bit deeper, progressing it himself, and then finding the pass. Whereas Bergvall was taking it under too much pressure, taking a big touch and losing it. So, I think we've got to start seeing him in the 10. And I prefer Odebear, but I've got this feeling it's going to be Muani eventually.
It's interesting. Thomas Frank also said that Xavi Simons sees passes that other players don't see, and I completely agree. I completely understand what he means, because every time he's calling for the ball, he wants the ball all the time. He sees that pass that not a lot of other footballers do, and that's why he's a quality player, and that's why I feel very excited about him going forward. And it's got to happen at some point, him going at number 10, and I think he's going to really thrive in the Premier League. Luke,
it was against Brighton where Bergvall was constantly putting it left and right every time he got the ball. And if you remember that chance where as soon as Xavi got it, he just put it flat through the middle to Richarlison, and Richarlison and Bergvall sort of ran into each other, and it didn't happen. And as soon as I saw that, I was like, we've been waiting the whole game for someone to just be brave and play a pass straight between the centre halves, because then then you're all running for it. So, yeah.
Luke, thank you as always. Great to talk to you, and we'll talk to you very soon.
Cheers, guys. See you later.
Cheers. Right. We have now got a couple of guests left. We've got 4 guests left. We're going to go to Steve, then we'll go to Hussein, and then Lewis. We've just lost Stu. Sorry. Steve, let's come to you now. Steve, how are you?
I'm all right. Just getting over a bit of flu for a couple of weeks, but yeah, I'm all right otherwise.
Steve, how are you feeling? Well, hopefully you get better soon.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, how are you feeling Tottenham-wise?
I'm not feeling too bad, to be honest. I'm more in the camp that sort of obviously still sticking with Frank and thinking with the games we've played and the positions we've got in the league and in the various competitions, we are not doing bad. And like you said, if somebody asked me at the beginning of the season, would I be happy with that after the amount of time that the 6 games in the league and what have you? I'm more than happy, but obviously taking the last few games individually, it's kind of worrying and disappointing that we're not scoring and the type of play we've had. But no, I'm not. Like you said, you heard a couple of guys on the plane saying, they're not happy with Frank's tactics or whatever, not happy the way we play. It's so early, it's so early. I mean, unfortunately, it's a catch-22. He has to rotate, and we drop off. Unfortunately, the drop-off is quite considerable from the people who are on the pitch, like Kudus, like Paulina. When they're not playing, or even Romero as well on Tuesday, we really, really notice it. In the last 3 games, at least in those last 3 games. So. It's a worrying thing. I've made a note about the keeper as well. I'm not happy with Vicario, not because Kinski's Czech and I live here. Not at all. It wouldn't be that banal. I notice as well when he lets goals in, he tends to berate the defence quite a lot. You know, he's shouting at people, and I don't think that does him any good. Even like the goal against Brighton, the second one, it's his fault. Well, I think it was his fault. And the second goal against Bodo on Tuesday, the clearance is what do you call it? Distribution with his feet. Someone's already mentioned. Sorry to go over it. Is also poor, and we know that Kinski can do that. I think he should be given a run out as well. So yeah, that's one issue. You know, because, and also down the right hand side when Kudus is not playing, then Johnson wasn't covering their winger at Bodo, and also Danso obviously doesn't read a game like Romero does. So Porro was really out on a limb when the guy cut back inside. Johnson at one stage was looking for the overlap, and you know, Danso wasn't reading it. Whereas with Romero, he reads the problem. He's a world-class player, so he sees the danger, and he'll either go with the overlap or he'll stay inside and wait for the guy to cut inside and put in a tackle. So all I'm trying to say is we really miss it. I know he has to rotate, so I'm saying it's kind of a catch-22 he must be pulling his hair out, Frank, because he's trying different players and they're just not coming up to scratch.
What have you made of Javi Simmons in a Spurs shirt so far, Steve?
Up until the Bodo game, like most people, I was very happy. He did give away the ball quite a lot unnecessarily on Tuesday, but apart from that, yeah, he's going to take time. He's got to get used to the people he's playing with, you know, and it's a very important role, and it's a very difficult role because you've got to know the pace of your forwards in front of you or the people in front of you, you know, where to play that ball through, at what pace, and where they're going to run into. But obviously they're training together. But these kind of partnerships, if you like, take time. But yeah, obviously well impressed. Yeah, well impressed. Sometimes he tends to overdo it, but at least he's running at people. He's getting things going, and he can find a pass. So that's, yeah, really happy with him at the moment. Yeah.
Should Archie Gray get more game time in your opinion?
Yeah, I feel he's been left out a bit until obviously Tuesday when he came on and he had an instant impact because he did it wasn't his fault. He had to cover a lot of positions last season, as we know. And he's still young, but he should get a little bit more game time. But it's a question of, you know, where is Frank going to play him in that, supposedly in the midfield? You know, there's a lot of people and a lot of players in there for the spaces he's got. So it's going to be difficult, but we're in two cup competitions and the Champions League as well as the league. So I'm sure you'll get more run-outs. Obviously, I mean, there's a lot of criticism for Richarlison, and I go along with it to an extent. You know, the chance that fell to him against Bodo, and he wasn't expecting the player, you know, the defender to miss it. Like you're saying, he's a Brazilian number 9. How can you not be a professional player and not expect that possibility that the defender's going to miss the ball? I do find, as someone else said, he hadn't got any touches. He's sort of getting marked out of the game, as Luke just alluded to. I mean, I'm not a professional coach, but I was just thinking, if we've got to stick with him because of the injuries we've got, obviously, to Kumani and what's his name?
Solanke.
Yeah, Solanke. Why don't we play a 4-1-3-2? Yeah, with Richarlison playing with someone up with him, either slightly behind him or with him. They can play off each other, so he's not so isolated. You know, Richarlison even push Bergvall that high up, or Tell alongside him, and you still would have Simmons in the 10, Kudus on the right, and Odeberg on the left. Paulino in the 6, and the back 4 basically picks itself. And Kinski in goal. But obviously, you know, Frank knows what he's doing and he will try that. But I just, you know, when you look at the lineup, it's like I said the other night before the game, I said to a friend of mine, I said, the forwards are not going to score in this game for us. If we get a goal, it will come from the midfield or the defence. I just don't see them scoring. They're just so lightweight. They're not connected enough, which is different. Obviously, when Kudus plays, then there is that connection. He can cut inside. He's got pace, and that's a worry for me as we drop off too much when he has to rotate. So he's in a no-win situation. Frank.
Steve, you mentioned about Romero obviously not playing in the Bodo game on Tuesday. When Kevin Danso does come in, what have you made of him? Do you like him?
I did last season. I don't know if I think he's played a couple of games this season. I'm not too sure about him. He's obviously not a ball player, if you like Romero, who can bring the ball out of defence. To me, he appears to be a little bit kind of clumsy. He's not. He's a big, strong boy. He gets stuck in, but I think he's a bit slow. Not say flat-footed, but not really over-impressed. I think you need a bit more time, to be honest. You need more games than I would say yay or nay, or give more of an opinion. I haven't seen enough of him, to be fair to him.
There's talk at the moment about Rodrigo Bentancur signing a new long-term contract at the club. Are you happy with that news?
That's a difficult one. Yeah, I was still am a fan of his, obviously, but I was a big fan of him last season. This year, I don't know what's happening with him. He seems to, when he's bringing the ball out of defence, he's cool and calm and collected. He doesn't panic. But quite often he can get caught in possession, and a lot of his passes have been going a bit wayward, the passes. A little bit negative. We've already got Paulinho in the six. It's a difficult one, Chris. Okay, I'll go because I think he can get back to the way he was playing before. And what happens if Paulinho gets an injury? We don't have any cover for him, really.
Do you think we'll see? Do you think we'll see Yves Bissouma in a Spurs shirt again?
I hope not. No, I don't. It's a real weird one, isn't it? He's supposed to have this mysterious injury where initially it was pretty much like all of them I know, where he's sort of saying, so he's only got a slight knock. And this was about, I don't know, 6 or 7 games ago. He's had a slight knock. This is what Frank was saying, wasn't it? And then he should be back soon. Yeah, probably in a week or so. It's going on. I just think they're just dragging it out until the transfer window. No, I think he's burnt all his bridges. There was a lot of potential, as we all knew, when he came from Brighton. He just never lived up to it, in my opinion. No, I don't want to see him in a Spurs shirt again, to be honest.
Steve, lastly, let me ask you about Brennan Johnson. Do you think that Thomas Frank? We know that Thomas Frank improves players, and a lot of people on the podcast, on the fan show, a lot of you guys come on, and Brennan Johnson is, a subject we discuss a lot, and a lot of people say we want to see him taking on a man, putting crosses in.
Yep.
Obviously, we see him scoring goals. Scored a great goal against Doncaster a week or so ago in the League Cup. Do you think we're going to see a real improvement in Brennan Johnson under Thomas Frank?
In my opinion, you'll have to be a magician to improve the lad. I don't know why. I think it was what Luke alluded to, and maybe someone else. Why he doesn't take the fullback on anymore. He's got a lot of pace. I mean, I know with the way he plays, he's got to be played in behind, either down the middle or in the position he plays in, because he doesn't seem to want to run at players, to face up to players. But he's good if there's a ball just in behind, and he'll pick it up and cross it. I'd love to see it. On the face of it, I think he's a very nice person. He scored that winning goal in the cup for us in Europe, so it was fantastic. But he's not doing enough for me, Chris. Hopefully Frank will improve him, get him to chase back like Kudus does, to help out the wing with the wingers of the opposing side. But I would. I don't think so. I don't know what it is. I just don't think Johnson's going to make it. I think we won't see a lot of him in the new year in the team,
Steve,
in his Spurs shirt.
Steve, very quickly, score prediction for Saturday.
I know what I should say and what I'm going to say. So I'm going to say a 2-1 win for us. I've got to be positive with Romero back, but I know our record with before the international breaks and so on. But no, I'll go 2-1. I reckon we'll be probably 1-0 down sometime in the first half, maybe by half time. And hopefully this time we'll come back and get all 3 points instead of just picking up one. Come on, you
Steve,
Spurs.
thanks for finishing on a positive.
Kinski in goal. Come on.
Thanks, Steve. Speak to you soon.
All right, Chris. Great speaking to you. Great.
Cheers.
Program.
And you.
Love it.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Right. We're now going to go to Congo and talk to Hussein. Hussein, how are you?
Hey, sorry about that. I missed you for a second.
That's all right.
Yeah.
Great to have you on again. How are you feeling as a Spurs fan right now?
Well, lately it's been kind of, but overall positive, overall pleased. The last few performances obviously haven't been great, but there's reasons for that, which we've been discussing. So I think Thomas Frank still hasn't decided his best midfield. He's limited with his options up front. His formation changes between 4-3-3 and 4-2-3-1. I don't think he's settled on that either. I think he's learning. I think he'd learn a lot faster if he just watched this podcast, and then it might save him a few lessons. But he'll learn that at Spurs, the second team is a lot weaker than the first, which is always the case, especially with the injuries we have now. So you can't expect to start a second-string team in a Champions League game and win easily. And I think he's going to learn. I think he's smart enough to rectify his mistakes with the subs that he brings on. I just think they come on a bit too late still. I think he has to make changes earlier. And I think the team selection the last few games hasn't been perfect. Don't know what you think.
It's very difficult though, isn't it? Because he does have to really manage the players' game time. And like I've said to a couple of guests so far, 6 games in 17 days, that is a pretty tough schedule. And of course, we play on Saturday as well, international break, and then games coming thick and fast again in the Premier League, in the Champions League, in the League Cup. And of course, us Spurs fans want to win every single game, and we want to see the best players in every single game, but it's absolutely impossible. Do you get the frustration at the moment amongst the fans? Because I know we talk about, we all want to be entertained. Are you being entertained watching Thomas Frank's Tottenham?
Look, he's come in, he's solidified the defense. Although the last game we were guilty of some sloppy defending, but he's given us structure. He's given them some principles that they have to follow defensively. But then going forward, he hasn't really started to make his mark. I think because of the personnel, because of the formation that he's still not decided on, the passing forward is not happening. We're playing. He's playing a few people out of position. That's not helping him. So offensively, we have a lot of work to do, but I'm sure he'll get it right eventually. Hopefully soon.
Yeah, as I said earlier, I think it's about small steps, and certainly these games. I know some people are frustrated at the fact that we've gone down and these games come back. And I know John in Canada said about, I don't want to hear this thing about character. But is there a part of you that was proud that the team came back into these games, or was it more of a frustration that we were losing in the first place?
Losing in the first place was obviously frustrating because a lot of silly mistakes. Even in the Champions League game, you see that Danso and Porro were always guilty of just sitting back and giving way too much space, not closing down, things that we've seen many seasons in a row and things that shouldn't happen. But again, we go to the wire. I'm a bit frustrated by the reaction after halftime. I don't think he's the kind of manager who gives the team a rollicking and they all come out all guns blazing. I think that's what I was most disappointed was when they came out of halftime. I thought, okay, reset and go full blast, and they didn't. They didn't really improve for quite a while until 10:50, until he made the changes, and that surprises me. I think the halftime talks, I don't know what they're like, but the immediate response isn't there. It takes us a while to get going and get back into games. But at least we're getting there. I mean, it's not bad. 3 wins, 3 draws, but we haven't had any tough games yet, except for Man City. So that's all to come. So we have a lot of work to do between now and November.
You're saying channel regular Sire, who was about to come on, but he's had a connection issue. He's just messaged and said this is the team that he would like to see for Saturday against Leeds. Kinski in goal. I'll come on to that in a second. And then Danso, Van de Ven, Davis, and then he's put in brackets if Romero injured. Polinia, Poro, Gray, Udogi, and he's written here Poro and Udogi as wing backs, bringing creativity. Javi is the number 10. Mohamed Kudus and Brennan Johnson up top. That's the team that he would like to see. Are you surprised on how many people? I know you've been listening to this fan show so far whilst waiting to come on. Are you surprised how many people have said that they want to see Kinski in goal rather than Vicario?
I think they both have their drawbacks and they both have their assets. I don't think there's much to choose between them, to be honest. I don't think we have a clear number one. I think it's, for me, I'm happy with both, although we could improve that position. Neither of them make the top 5 in the Premier League as a starting keeper, in my opinion. They don't get into any of the other sides.
Who's really impressed you so far this season, and who needs to give more? Who needs to give more in this team?
Paulinia's, I think, for me, the one who's Paulinia, Kudus, the new signings are the ones that have impressed me the most. Archie Gray's done very well in the limited cameos that he's had. I think it's more about the guys who have been disappointing. I think the left side is a complete mess. Nobody's taken their chance. Richarlison, obviously, we've spoken about a lot. I think this will only change when Kolomwani comes back. I think we could see Richarlison on the left.
I agree.
And then put Mwani up front, I think, when Solanke comes back. Obviously, the midfield is not settled. I'm more concerned about the midfield. And the balance on the left is missing. The right side, Poro and Kudus seem to be working quite well together. And I think that will only get better as the games progress. But it's the left side that's a mess. Nothing's working. I don't think Odegaard is the solution. Tell is definitely not the solution. For me, out of all the people we have fit right now, I think Tell would be the best place. But he hasn't taken his chances either. But he's the one most suited for me on the left.
I asked a previous guest about, or I asked Steve about improving Brennan Johnson. Do you think that we will see the very best from Matisse Tell? We know that he's got potential, of course, come from Bayern Munich. Do you think that he's going to get many opportunities under Thomas Frank? And do you think that Thomas Frank will improve him?
Well, in preseason, I thought he had the edge over Odegaard in Thomas Frank's eyes. Then I was very surprised when the Champions League squads came out that Odegaard got the nod and he was left out. And then subsequently, he hasn't really done much in the sub appearances that he's had or in the starts that he's had. So he's still very young. He's still getting used to the physicality of the game. I think even Xavi's learning that it's quite a physical league, and you can't just expect everything to go perfectly. I think both of them lose passes, giving the ball away too much. I think those are things that they'll have to learn very quickly. If I had to bet 2 years from now, I'd say Johnson wouldn't be a Spurs player and Tell would.
Interesting. Yeah,
that's what I would say.
Hussein, last question. What's your expectation? What's the realistic expectation from you as a Spurs fan?
I think when the computer says 7th, that's probably accurate. But if we're going to be optimistic and if we achieve and we play well this season, we should come 5th. That's what I would want. I think as a realistic, all goes well, we come 5th. But at a minimum, we need to come 7th.
I feel like injuries are going to be such a big thing, keeping players fit, because like I mentioned earlier, when you take players like Mohamed Kudus out of the team and João Palhinha out of the team, like he did on Tuesday against Bodo, I just think that we look a very, very different side.
We say that, but how many games does Haaland miss? How many games does Salah not play? How many games? I mean, every team has a core of 5 or 6 players that seem to play every game, and that's what I don't understand. And they stay fit somehow. So I don't, So I don't know. I think it depends on the position as well. Obviously, they're monitoring how much everyone runs and how much everyone exerts themselves, and the scientists now make decisions. But for me, you can't change, you can't rotate 7 players in a game. I think you have to be smarter about it, and you have to keep a core that's always consistent, and then change, 2 or 3 per game, not more than that. Otherwise, you lose a lot, especially when you don't have, dare I say it, like Arsenal that has pretty much 22 first team players, and we don't have, we still have a huge gulf between the first team and the second team, and that is because we also have 4 good players out. When they come back, that improves that situation a lot as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Score prediction for Saturday?
Oof, I think 2-2.
Sure. Okay. Hussein, great to talk to you again.
All right, take care. Thank you.
We look forward to talking to you again very soon. Thank you.
Take care. See you.
Cheers. Right, we're going to go to our last guest of the evening. We're going to go to Dorset, and we're going to talk to Lewis. Lewis, how are you, mate? No, can't hear you. Nope, still can't hear you. Lewis has waited all this time to come on, and we can't even hear him. Lewis, if you perhaps go out and come back in, and we'll see if we can get you on. Let's take some comments while we're waiting for Lewis to come back. So Woodford 10 says here, Tell has a bit of fire about him, so would like for him to get some opportunities even from the bench. I tell you what, on this comment, what I would say is the Wolves game, Tell was out on the left-hand side, took on his man, put the ball into Sarr. Sarr laid it off, Polinia, goal. And I tell you what, not a lot of people actually talk about that moment. They don't want to, well, I think a lot of people don't want to big up Tell and say that he did something right, but he did. And it's little moments like that that are going to give him a little bit more confidence. Lewis, are you back? No, we still can't hear you. Try some of your settings, Lewis. Yeah. And we'll go through some more. TSOM says here, Johnson is not the answer. Tell is a good young player, just needs time. And I tell you what, when I was out in Hong Kong and South Korea, Tell was one of the best trainers, in my opinion. And the crosses that he put in, I remember being in the South Korea training session, and Tell put the ball on the corner spot, and he literally scored 4 in a row. Incredible trainer, and I thought he did really, really well. Lewis, are you back with us? No, we still can't hear you. Right, but we are going to try and get Sai. We're going to try and get Sai. Sai, can you hear me now?
Yes, I can, mate. All is good. I've got you.
How are
live, I'm good. Live from sunny Lanzarote, mate. So all is good. I'm out here for a few weeks.
Okay.
I'm out here,
Didn't know that.
Out here for a few weeks. Just a bit of
Lovely.
warm weather training before the winter sets in at home.
I should have realised by the top that you're wearing, getting your muscles out.
They're not muscles, mate. They're just knots.
Well, I've already. I don't know whether you're still watching or listening, but I've read your lineup out that you'd like to see at Leeds on Saturday. But let me ask you first of all, how are you feeling as a Spurs fan? Are you feeling proud of the team, the fact that we have come back into these games, or is there the frustration that we shouldn't have been losing those matches in the first place?
Yeah, I've got both, mate, to be honest with you. So if you actually go through the games that we've had, look, Burnley was a freebie in my opinion, but other than the Man City and the PSG game, we haven't put together a performance in all the halves of all the games, and I just think that personally for me is not good enough, only given the quality that we've got. You know, we've got some fantastic footballers in our squad, and I think that's where the frustration comes. I'm happy that we are where we are in the league. I'm happy that we've got points in the Champions League, but I'm just frustrated because those players that we've got are capable of far much more. And I think that's kind of, where I sit with it. I also think this thing about our home stadium, if it's an issue, and it's Thomas Frank's job to make sure the players overcome, I suppose, if it's their fears, if you call it, or their anxiety about playing at home. But the fans, we've got to make a noise and get behind the boys, because, I'd listened to watched the Crystal Palace game earlier. Their fans did not shut up from minute 1 to minute 97, and
Yeah.
I think if we can bring that energy and enthusiasm to our ground, and we help the players and the players help us. I've always prattled on as I do, but that it's a symbiotic relationship. One feeds the other, so you can't have one without the other. So I think it's a joined up thing. But so I'm happy and frustrated, probably in equal measure. But it's just that point that we've only, out of the 10 games we've played, we've only put together 3 proper performances, in my opinion. All the other games just been a half of decent stuff and a half of not so good stuff.
Si, you are another guest on this show this evening that have said that they want Kinski in goal instead of Vicario. Why?
Two reasons for me. Well, 3 reasons actually. First of all, I think Vicario is feeling the pressure at the moment, and I think we need to ease the pressure on him. Secondly, I think that Kinski is probably the heir apparent long term, and at certain times of seasons we need to bring him in. And thirdly, I just think that the way that Thomas Frank wants to play with the ball out from the back, Kinski is far superior to Vicario. And I think if you're going to trigger offensive patterns from the back, then you need a goalkeeper who's more competent with his feet. I mean, if you look at Alisson and Ederson in their pomp at Liverpool and City respectively, they kind of set things going with their passes and their skills from the back. So that's probably my 3 reasons why I'd give the lad a go. And also, don't forget, everybody says, he's not so good at this. If you see some of the shots that he saved, particularly against Doncaster, and then some of the performances he put in last season, all right, he had one bad game. All keepers have one bad game. But I don't think it should exclude him from pushing Vicario to be the number 1. Just my opinion.
It'd be a big call from Thomas Frank to do that, though, wouldn't it?
Yeah, but again, I don't think Thomas Frank shies away from stuff like that. I personally don't think, and you can see it in a lot of his selections, he doesn't have players guaranteed a position. And if you look, there was probably 3 or 4 players in the Brentford team last year that played more often than not, albeit they were playing less games than they could. But I think, he's not afraid to, 1, refresh the personnel, or 2, change the tactics, or the structure of the team. So, is it a big call? Well, aren't managers paid to make big calls? I thought they were. Yeah. So, yeah, again, just an opinion.
Si, what have you made of Leeds United so far this season, and what sort of game should we be expecting on Saturday?
Well, you're going to go into a fire pit of, enthusiasm from the Leeds fans. I think they've played better than their results have suggested. I mean, the games I've seen, they've had a go at other teams, and they play some good football. I think that will actually suit us, and I don't think they're going to. I'd be really surprised if they sit defensively too much, and I don't think their crowd would let them sit too defensive. And that's why, the lineup that I suggested, I just think that we're, if you put a back three in and then have a Doggy and Porro as wing backs, who are both creative players and both can go on the outside, whereas the people in front of them turn inside. And with Xavi in a 10 picking them out, I just think we could do Leeds some damage. And, we're pretty good on the break. And again, if you look at the quality of crosses into the box, a Doggy, and Porro, they're probably as good as we've got at the moment. That's just the way I feel about it. But Xavi must play in the 10. He's got to play in the middle of the pitch. Yeah, he's like the conductor, the tempo master.
So I asked this question to someone else on this stream, but I want to get your opinion on it as well. Who do you think that will be the number one choice, or the person that will play the majority of games on that left-hand side going forward? Because he has tried a fair few players there. Xavi, of course, has played there as well. Richarlison could play there if Dominic Solanke and Mawani come back. Of course, we've got more options, but who do you see playing there, and what have you made of Wilson Odebear?
Wilson Odebear is raw, and for me, he's a player who probably needs a Premiership loan, if I'm totally honest. Look, my ideal solution is don't mess around. January the 1st, bring in a left-footed left winger. That's the answer for me. In the meantime, the only person I think that could play out there for the minute is probably Richarlison. That's the only guy I can see playing out there. And then in the short term as well, before Solanke's back, if Mawani's fit, he has to play number 9. And then when Solanke's back, you could play Mawani off the left. But I have a real problem when we play two right-footed players on the left-hand side of the pitch, because they're both going inside. And if you look at Kudus and Porro, well, Kudus is capable of coming inside or outside, doesn't matter to him. Porro will go past him on the outside, but on the left, if you've got Spence there, and then you've got any right-footed player that you want, Odebear, Tell, Richarlison, and they're all channeling inside, it's so easy to defend against that I think it makes us ineffective on that side. And that's where a doggy, if you like, with a left-footed player and a right-footed player in front of him, I can go for that. But, mate, I've been banging on. We should have got another left-footed fullback and solved the problem in the summer. We should have got a proper left winger in the summer. Why we didn't get a Lookman or somebody like that, I don't know. If you have those two options, I think we're a different team even now.
So, last question. Rodrigo Bentancur, lots of rumours stating that he's about to sign a new contract. Are you happy?
No, I've done my time with Bentancur, and I don't think he's what we need. If I look at the position, so you want number 6, well, we need to get another kind of João Palhinha clone, because he's been the difference between kind of light and day to last season, having him there. Then you've got number 8. Well, we've already got Papsar, Bergvall and Gray who can play number 8. So we've got number 10s. We're going to have Xavi and Kulusevski hopefully soon. So for me, why do we need Bentancur? I'm just I don't see the point in it. And if you look, he hasn't been the driving player. He's another one at the moment. I heard, I think it was John said earlier that he never wants to see Basuma again. I'm pretty much the same with Bentancur, I'm afraid, because I've seen it all before. I've seen how he plays, and I just think that the youngsters are the way forward if you're going to play a number 8, and we need another number 6. So for me, take that contract away before he signs it.
So thank you so much for joining us, particularly when you're on holiday. Enjoy the rest of your holiday, and hopefully you have a smile on your face on Saturday when we've got 3 points at Ellen Road.
Well, I'm on Saturday, so I'm looking forward to coming on and celebrating a win with the boys. So that'll be good, especially when Mr. Altman told. No,
You should
no,
have
I
said
love
you're on
being
holiday,
honest.
not keep coming on here.
No, I'm not exactly. Well, I wouldn't say I'm on holiday. I'm working whilst I'm out here, but I just out having a bit of sun in between. And also, it wouldn't give Mr. Altman, if I wasn't on, he couldn't call me Uncle Albert again, could he? Let's entertain people.
Brilliant. Well, Si, enjoy
All right,
your
mate.
trip.
Look
Thank you
after
so
you.
much, and we'll speak to you
Cheers,
soon.
mate.
Cheers.
I'll see you.
Right, I've cut him off. Right, we've got two guests left, Simone in Italy and Lewis. Simone, I'm just going to go to Lewis quickly, and then I'll come back to you, and then we will talk a fair bit on Tottenham. Lewis, can we hear you now?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Perfect. Great to have you on,
Yay, there we
and thank you
go.
for
Brilliant.
being patient. How are you feeling right now as a Spurs fan? What have you made of this these last couple of results and these last couple of weeks at Tottenham?
I think I have to get realistic. It's 6 games in. I think a lot of people are like reading into it way too much. We're 6 games in. Yes, there's a few signs and that we need to be worried about, but we're 6 games in. You know, we're not doing bad, are we? I mean, let's look at it. Realistically, Sunderland. I was going to bring this up. Sunderland in the same point we are right now, and they're probably loving it. Whereas we are like we're moaning, we're complaining. They're probably loving it. Yes, there's a few worrying signs. I think Bodo Glint the other night, I think I was a bit envious about whether the way they played, the way they passed the ball was amazing. But they were up for it that night. I mean, let's not take it away from them. They played some great football. And they deserved to they were at home, you know, at the end of the day. And talking about dropping Vicario and that, and I think 6 games in, I don't think you could talk like that. You know, I think if we're talking about 20 games in, then you need to start looking at it. I think everyone's panicking a little bit too much, in my opinion.
There are a lot of guests this evening, Lewis. I don't know how much of this you've watched or listened to,
I've watched it all. I don't buy it. I don't buy it. It's too early. Why do you chop your main goalkeeper? I don't know. No, that does the opposite. That's not going to build confidence. We need confidence at the moment, and the team's still building. It's still going forwards. You need to build your best team, and Vicario is our best goalkeeper at the moment. Yes, he hasn't looked that great, but not that awful. He's not Onana. You know, I mean, come on, he's not Onana at Man United. Look at the mistakes he's made. You know, let's just settle a little bit. I think we're all getting a bit carried away as Spurs fans, as we do. We expect the best for our football club, and rightly so. But, you know, we're 6 games in, you know, and 2 Champions League games. We haven't got dicked. We haven't lost. It's work in progress, and it's going to take a while, and we all hate that. We all hate that because we want it to hit the ground running. We want it to go bosh. Spurs are back, bang. It's not going to happen like that. It's not going to happen like that. It's going to take time under Thomas Frank. What I've seen is positives. I see us a little bit more organised at the back. Yes, the front row's not hitting. The front line's not hitting the levels we want to hit. But that's going to take time. Until that clicks, it's going to take time. It's like any football, any team. It will take a while for it to happen. And I think, you know, a few more games in, the players are starting. And Richie, yes, I mean, a few times he's going to hit them, but he's under pressure at the moment to get them goals. So I was going to ask you a question, by the way, Chris. What's the QR code in the corner?
Thank you for that.
Thank you for the plug. Is that to vote for you?
Absolutely. It's to vote for us. So if anyone's watching on YouTube, Facebook or X, you can vote for us at the Football Content Awards top left. And I didn't ask Lewis to say that.
No, he didn't. He didn't. £10 after the show, by the way. but no, please do, because like Chris has given since day dot, it's been an amazing platform. He's really honestly done so well for this team.
Thank you.
But what are your thoughts? Because you ask our thoughts. What's your thoughts on how do you feel about the team and how do you think it's going?
Do you know what, Lewis? When I went to the game Tuesday in Norway, when I got up in the morning, I had a Sky interview to do, and although I was disappointed that we got a 2-2 draw. You know, I want to win every game. As a Spurs fan, whenever I go home away games, I want to win. And I expect us to win all the time. You know, I would never travel to all of these places if I thought that we were going to lose games.
Yeah.
So, of course, it was naturally disappointing that we went 2-0 down. Great character to come back. I know some people don't like that term about character to come back in games, but I believe that last season, the season before, or even before that under various different managers, we would have lost these games. You know, people use these horrible terms all the time, Spursy, Dr. Tottenham. Well, you know, Thomas Frank has instilled this mentality, and he uses the word mentality a lot. And I've noticed really, you know, a lot since this season, since Frank's arrival, that the players use that word a lot as well. And it is about mentality, and it's about coming back in, you know, to matches. And like he said, if you're not going to win games, don't lose them. So the fact that we've come back, and I felt like I had to do a video. So I was walking from the hotel to the airport, because it's a very short walk past the stadium, and I thought I've got to just put a video out on the channel talking about my thoughts and feelings about where Spurs are. Because when I went on to social media, particularly X, I read some of the comments and I was like, wow, we're 6 games into a Premier League campaign.
Yeah.
We've played 2 Champions League games, which we've got 4 points from. We're through to the 4th round of the Carabao Cup. Now, we've lost 1 game in 9. You know, that's excluding the Super Cup. So you're talking Champions League, League Cup, and Premier League. And if I'd have asked you or any guest or any fan that watches or listens to this, you know, at the start of the season, before a ball was kicked, that we would have only lost 1 game in the Premier League, you know, unbeaten in the Champions League, through to the 4th round of the Carabao Cup, I think everyone would have taken it. But I think that a lot of people are a little bit feeling a bit about the types of performances that we have had, where I think a lot of people think that Thomas Frank's going to come in, or a new manager is going to come in, and we're going to play super entertaining football, and it's going to be win all the time. And I think things take time. And I know that a lot of people don't like that either. They don't like the whole time and patience thing. But I think a lot of people need to be realistic to think that we did finish 17th in the Premier League last season, and things are going to take time. But when we're only 4 points away from league leaders and champions Liverpool, you know, 6 games in, I don't think that's a bad return. And
No.
I believe that we have played some good football, but we've also played some terrible football. So there has been a real mixture. But I just think that he's going to take time. And, you know, the fact that he has had to rotate so much of the squad, I feel like he's managed people's minutes really well. You know, I was disappointed the other day to see Polinia and Mohamed Kudus on the bench for Bodo game on Tuesday. But, you know, you've got to be realistic about it as well. They can't play, you know, these top players, top performers, they can't play every single minute. So I think everyone just needs to be a little bit more realistic about expectations. But like I said, I think if you'd have asked anyone at the start of the season, before a ball was kicked, we'll be, you know, 4 points away from top place. You know, we're unbeaten in the cup so far. What more do you want?
I would also ask you this also, anyone watching this, have you seen any team in the Premier League this year that you thought, wow, they've been amazing every single game? No.
No, exactly.
Not at all.
Li-
Not even Liverpool.
Liverpool might be
It's
sitting top of the
shocking at
Premier
times.
League, but yeah.
Shocking. So that's your base level. So for us, where we are at now, at the early stage of our start of the season, you know, Arne Slot has had Liverpool trained. This is the start of our journey. This is literally at the right. We're right at the start, and we are not in a bad place at all. So, you know, I don't get the meltdown. I don't get the whole 6 games in. I'm thinking, you know, let's be realistic. You know, our Spurs fans, we judge Spurs and the last 20 years on the manager now. That's not fair. He's starting now. He's got nothing to do with Spursy and results that happened before. It's what happens now. But we do that as Spurs fans because we're like, oh, here we go again. And it's that mentality. We need to stop that. And it's not easy to say, but we need to.
I just really hope, Lewis, that the fact that we don't continue this awful run that we have before international break, and we actually go to Leeds, the early kickoff as well.
Early
So
kickoff as well. It's a double whammy, isn't it?
exactly.
Whammy.
So yeah, it would be a great weekend, and it would be a great couple of weeks if we go to Ellen Road and get a really positive result. And I'll also add, if it was a really positive and fine performance, that would do us nicely. But Lewis, let me ask, who have you been most impressed with? And perhaps I should ask the question: who have you been surprised by?
Well, not many I've been surprised by. The players we brought in, I think Paulinho, I thought straight away, I thought he's been a player we've been crying out for years. I think he's the one player that was like, we've needed in the middle. We've needed a player like him. So it's no surprising that he's come in and done a job. I mean, but there's not many players out there like that. That's the thing. Everyone keeps saying, oh, we need a backup. I think it was Sai saying we need a backup for him. But who's backup? There's not many players out there that can play that six that well. There really isn't. If you look around the whole world, there's not many players that play that six role, which I'm quite surprised that Bayern let him come to us, to be honest, because he's a good player, really, really good player. I'm not surprised at all. I'm surprised they let him come to us. Kudos.
Well, the thing is, Lewis, we waited all this time for Paulinho to walk through the door. How are we going to get a backup of equal quality straight away like that?
Exactly. I mean, we had Højbjerg. I thought I think under Pochettino, we needed that player in the middle, didn't we? The sort of broke up play and that. But he had his downside, didn't he? Whereas he'd do all his great play and then he'd give the ball away every 5 minutes, and really frustrating. I really loved Højbjerg, but Paulinho is just next level. That's the number 6. But there's no one out there like him.
Yeah.
No one out there like, but Kudos, I think, is amazing for Spurs.
Yeah,
absolutely amazing player. But we wanted him for a long, long time. I think there was a lot of talk about Brennan Johnson. He gets a lot of stick, but he'll get there. He'll get there. I think with the right coaching, but he pops up and scores goals when he needs to. So I just think we're not firing right now, and I think that's going to take time. I hate to say it, we've got to be patient.
Simon says here that he thinks that Leeds will win the game 2-1, and Ray watching on Facebook, and Ray, thanks so much for all of your score predictions, particularly on the Premier League shows that we do as well. Ray believes that Spurs will win this game 4-2. Lewis, last question for you. Who would you like to see in the starting 11, and what's your score prediction?
Oh, it depends who's fit, really. That's the thing, it's fitness nowadays, isn't it? Obviously, I'd love to see Zabi playing the number 10, but then who do you play on the left? I want to see Odegaard step up on the left. I think it's good. We've got so many young players, though. That's the thing. It's young players. It's got to be given time. My son's 7 years old, and he's in a new team. And I keep saying to him and his teammates, it's going to take time for you to click. And Premier League players or not, it's going to take them time to click. And we've got so many young players, and people forget that they're all youngsters. They're not all
you're right.
Roonies. They're not all 16-year-old super kids. They're amazing players, but they need time. They do need time, and we hate to hear it. I'd like to see Marnie back when he's actually fit. I think when we got a fully fit squad, it'd be amazing. But But a 12:30 kickoff before an international break, it doesn't sound good, does it? Either way, we don't do well on that. I just like.
Are you shying away from a score prediction, Lewis?
No. What do you want? Okay, score prediction. Chris, I'm going.
You don't need to. You don't need to if you don't want to.
No, I will, Chris. I will. I'm going 3-1.
Tottenham.
3-1. Obviously, I'll never go against my team, Chris. Ever.
I don't assume anything on this show.
Where's Craig tonight? Is he being happy somewhere?
Craig's been doing so much on the channel. I thought I better do something myself.
You don't make
He's
him
great.
miserable.
No, exactly. He's hosting the podcast after the Leeds game, so.
Oh, is he?
He's already saying to me, "You know what's going to happen," and I'm like, "No, don't think that way." So yeah, Yeah, exactly. Lewis, great to talk to you as always, and have a great weekend, and we'll talk to you soon.
And you, mate. You take care. Thank you, Chris.
Cheers.
Cheers, mate.
Cheers. Right, we're now going to go to our last guest of the evening, and we're going to go all the way to Italy to talk to my good friend Simone. Simone, how are you?
I'm fine, Chris. I'm fine. Always delighted when I'm back on the show.
Well, great to have you here. How are you feeling right now as a Spurs fan? We've spoken for many years about Spurs under various different managers, styles. Are you being entertained under Thomas Frank? Are you happy with the type of football we're playing?
I'm not entertained, and of course, I'm not happy with the style of football. But I think that this is not the problem. Thomas Frank deserves to have time to develop his style of football, even if the style of football has been a little bit poor in the last couple of weeks, in the last couple of games. We need to admit that even if I love the manager, even if I absolutely love the man, I've been following his steps since he was managing in Championship, so I know how good he can be. He was absolutely brilliant in trying to solve in this short amount of period of time situations like set pieces, to adapt himself and his team to the opponents. Important aspects where Spurs in the last couple of years were really poor. I think that he was brilliant against PSG. He was brilliant against Man City. He was absolutely brilliant with his game plan when he's gonna play a bigger opponent than Tottenham. When he needs to play Wolves, Bodo Glimt, he is actually struggling. But we are just at the start, hopefully, of a journey. So I think that he deserves time to develop his style of football. If you think about the players, there are big players, top players. Cuti Romero, Van de Ven, João Palhinha. We've got a serious player in there. If you think that, if the Spurs world think that the problem right now is João Palhinha celebrating against Wolves, removing his jersey, this is not the problem. Of course, there are many problems that Thomas Frank needs to work on. I think that from the number 8 and number 6 positions to up front, there are many overrated players. This is what I think. And I think that the recruitment in the last couple of years up there was not good enough. And I'm thinking and referring to players like Solanke. For me, he's not a player that you should buy for 70 million pounds. But it was Big Ange that strongly wanted him to sign for that big amount of money. Richarlison. And I think that Colomoni as well is the same level. Matistel, what did he show? Of course, we need to give him time. But you saw that maybe the big levers are on other positions.
Simone, talking about transfers, what have you made of Xavi Simons so far?
We need to wait for him. At the moment, right now, guys, we know Eze is a better player because Eze knows the Premier League. Even Morgan White from Nottingham Forest, for me, right now, would be a better solution. But Xavi Simons is the future. If you decide to spend 60 million pounds on Xavi Simons, and I think that is different than Odobert, tell the same kudos. I think that we've got a serious player in there in this position. So I'm gonna wait for him. It will come.
Simone, I don't know how much that you've watched or listened to this evening, but a number of guests have said that they would like to see Antonin Kinski in goal for the Leeds game. What have you made of Vicario in a Spurs shirt in the last couple of years, and particularly this season. And what do most Italians think of Vicario over there?
In Italy, we love Vicario. In Italy, and we've got very, very important goalkeepers behind Donnarumma, in my opinion, and in the majority, in the major part of Italian fans, Vicario is the best solution after Gigi Donnarumma. Vicario is the best solution. We have got, for example, Di Gregorio from Juventus that is very good, Mere from Napoli that is very good. But me, and many people consider Vicario even a better solution than these names that I actually just spelled. So I think that every goalkeeper can make mistake. Vicario made a couple of mistakes last season, mainly. Kinski deserves a chance. One day we need to see maybe in the Carabao Cup his characteristics, his attributes. Then, of course, there is Thomas Frank and his coaching staff that actually look day in and day out behind the doors on their keepers. But for me, Vicario is not the problem of this team. This team needs to improve his style of play, and this club needs to improve the recruitment stuff in terms of finding on the market better attacking solution.
Simone Callie writes here, guys, some more positivity, please. What positives do you take from this season so far?
PSG away in Udine, Man City away. A manager that knows actually to prepare a proper plan to stop the big opponents. A manager that knows how to improve set pieces. It's incredible the fact that last season Spurs were the worst team in terms of set pieces. Now we are talking one of the best. So for me, we've got a manager in there. Thomas Frank is actually a manager, a proper manager. So I'm gonna wait for him. He needs to develop his style of play. We'll see. I'm gonna wait the evolution of Bergval. I'm gonna wait the same evolution Xavi Simons in the number 10 position. Then maybe in January, in February, one day, at least I hope so, James Maddison, the number 10 of this football club, will come back. So I think that it's all about improving the style of play. This is all about.
Simone, are you surprised though? And I've asked this question to a few guests this evening. Are you surprised by some people being negative, some people feeling really flat, some people not feeling excited? Because we've only lost one game in the Premier League. We're sitting 4 points away from Liverpool, league leaders, league champions last season. We're through to the Carabao Cup fourth round. Champions League, the first two games, we've got 4 points, which I think if you'd have said that to the start, to anyone at the start of the season, anyone would have taken that. Are you surprised by the negativity, I suppose? Because I think if Thomas Frank or any of the Spurs coaching staff watched or listened to this fan show tonight, I think they would be really surprised by some people's takes.
I think, Chris, someone was disappointed, not just for the results, for the last couple of results, but mainly for the style of football. We were playing Wolves at home. People expected something more. We were playing Bodo Glimt away. People were expecting something more. And it's fair to see that they were absolutely right. All this negativity, football is all about present. Football is all about this week. Football is all about getting results. Maybe 3 points away at the Ellen Road, and you'll see, just like you said 10 minutes before, if you go to Ellen Road to Leeds and you got the win, well, the international break will be brilliant. So I think that it's the early stages. Last season, guys, okay, Europe League, fantastic. But in the league, and you are talking to one of the most critical of Big Ange. Last season, Spurs finished 17th. 17th is absolutely incredible. So last season, you should criticize the manager. At the end of the day, he got Alkmaar in the last 16, Bodo Glimt in the semi-final. He got an easy run to the final, and he managed to win something. But of course, if you want to be back to that Champions League, top Champions League levels like 5, 6, 7 years ago, during the Pochettino era, you need time. You need time. I think that Thomas Frank is the right manager. He's the right man for the job. I'm gonna give him time. But of course, he needs to improve his styles of play when he's gonna play Wolves, Bodo Glimt, teams like them.
Simone, I don't buy that. There's no easy games in Europe.
There's no easy game in Europe. There's no easy game in the Premier League. But of course, I prefer to play Bodo Glimt than play away in Paris or play away in Barcelona or play away against Ari, for example, against Bayern Munich. So then Champions League, guys, teams like Tottenham, they should try to finish into the top 8. So for me, I was the one that said after Brighton that for me, Brighton away was more 1 point gained than 2 lost. In Bodo, you should try to go there and win again, just like Spurs used to do, just like Spurs did on last April. So if you want to go further in these competitions, is to want to have a brilliant campaign, you should finish into the top 8, because the playoff, guys, is going to be absolutely a nightmare. It's going to be something very, very difficult to face.
Simone, every single time we talk, we always talk about transfers and possible transfers to Tottenham. And I like to ask you percentages of what's the chances. I'm gonna ask you about Harry Kane. What's the percentage chance of Harry Kane coming back in the near future?
It's one of my biggest and wildest dreams in the world of football, Chris. I'm gonna be 50%, but not next summer. But
50?
50, yes. I'm gonna be optimist, but not next summer. Next summer it's not gonna be time after the World Cup. I think that his contract maybe is gonna expire on 2027. I think that summer of 2027 is gonna be the right summer. But of course, we need a solution for this 1 year and a half, almost 2 years, again without Harry Kane. Harry Kane, if there is still love in modern football, should come on one day.
One of your first appearances on this channel was talking about Kulusevski and Bentancur when they signed, and you weren't a fan.
I'm famous for that in this show.
You weren't a fan of either of them at the time when Spurs were about to sign them. Rodrigo Bentancur, it's been noted or been reported widely that he is about to sign a new contract at Spurs. Have you changed your mind about Kulusevski and Bentancur now, and are you pleased that Bentancur is about to sign a new deal?
You know that I changed my mind, but I actually admit that I was wrong after 2 months of Bentancur under Antonio Conte. But we need to admit that since that tragic case he held, and since Antonio Conte departed this football club, Rodrigo Bentancur wasn't anymore the player that we used to love to see under Antonio Conte. Under Antonio Conte, Bentancur was a total player, was one of the best midfielders in Europe. When he departed, Big Ange wanted Bentancur to play in front of the back four, and for me, after that injury in Leicester, he wasn't that player anymore. Kulusevski, I'm missing him so much. Of course, Kulusevski is an important player. We are not talking about one of the best right winger in the world, of course, but he's a top player for Tottenham. I prefer him. I prefer the Swedish than Kudus. For me, and I'm gonna be very, very unpopular, Kudus is overrated. When you go on the market and you wanna spend money, you should go with 70 million pounds on top player like Savigno, for example. Kudus is something that, okay, it's good. He's playing well. He's playing good, but he's not that right winger that change the dimension of your football team. So that is something that needs to improve, even in the recruitment stuff. We'll see how much the recruitment is gonna change after the famous Daniel Levy's departure. We'll see.
Simone, on Bentancur, you said that you changed your mind. I don't know. I was only joking, by the way. But a couple of months later, you did say that you got it wrong about him. Do you? Is the criticism now of him fair? Because a lot of Spurs fans I talk to, a lot of people really like him, but I see a lot of criticism, particularly online, for Bentancur. Is that fair?
No, I don't think it's fair. I don't think it's fair because he's a player that, at the end of the day, he tries it all. He gives always his 100% for the team. I would be more critical, for example, of Jet Spence. If you look at the Jet Spence performance against Bournemouth before the international break, when he actually got called by Three Lions, it was very, very, I don't know the right word in English, superficial, sort of that we say in Italian. So I should not go so strong towards Rodrigo Bentancur. Of course, Bentancur has been the same level for 2 years. Okay, under Postecoglou and under Thomas Frank. Is this player, this level? Under Antonio Conte was top. So if you gonna criticize him to not being able to be anymore that player under Antonio Conte, I could agree. I can agree. There was that injury that changed his history, but it's not Rodrigo Bentancur is not the problem for Tottenham, and I would be happy that this kind of experienced players will sign their long-term future, will commit their long-term future to the club. And I'm thinking about both Paulinho and Bentancur, because they are experienced, they know how to handle the very tough situations of difficult grounds, difficult places. So they are the characters that I really want to have in my team if I want to win something important.
Final couple of questions for you. The first one, Yves Bissouma. Would you expect him to stay at Spurs for the rest of the season? Perhaps a move in the January transfer window?
He made some silly decisions, not just under Postecoglou, but maybe under Frank. Of course, we don't know what is currently happening behind the doors. But I never saw Thomas Frank so hungry towards a player. He was late. He came late to many different training sessions. So I'm not expecting him to stay after the injury, after the January transfer window. So I'm expecting him to depart the team, to depart London on the January transfer window. It's not part of. It's clear that it's not part of Thomas Frank project.
Yeah. Stanley writes here, why negative on Bentancur? I don't get it either. I really like Bentancur. I think he offers Tottenham a lot, and I don't get the criticism. That's exactly why I asked the question. Simone, final question for you. How do you think the Leeds game will go on Saturday? Who should Thomas Frank go with? Because some people have said that he got the lineup wrong, particularly with Mohamed Kudus and Polinia being on the bench. Of course, Javi Simmons, a lot of us want to see him in the number 10. Going into the international break, if he had the same squad as what he did on Tuesday with, of course, Dominic Solanke being out, Mawani still being out, Romero is expected to be coming back into the starting 11 and captain the side at Elland Road. But what starting 11 would you like to see at Elland Road on Saturday?
I think that he will go with Mohamed Kudus, with Xavi Simons again on the left, with Bergvall as a number 10. Then, which one I would pick? I would pick Brennan Johnson on the right. For me, as a right winger, Brennan Johnson, and I'm gonna be unpopular, is still a better player than Kudus. I will go with Xavi Simons as a number 10. But if you think about playing as a number 10, for example, in 4-3-1-2, could be easier for Xavi Simons because he could have 3 players behind him. If you want Xavi Simons to play as a number 10 in 4-2-3-1, it's not going to be the same. It's not going to be the same because he could have only 2 players behind him. So I'm studying Thomas Frank. I'm studying what he wants from his players. So up front, there are no many options. Solanke has got his surgery. Maybe Richarlison is tired. So I'm expecting Matistel to start from the first minute. We'll see. If it's gonna depend on me, I will go with Brennan Johnson on the right, Xavi Simons as number 10.
What do you think? What do you think Brennan Johnson offers then that Mohamed Kudus doesn't?
He attacks the space better than Mohamed Kudus. He knows when attack. He knows the tempo, the pace, when it's time to attack the space. When, for example, the ball is on the left side. This is what I think of Brennan Johnson. Brennan Johnson has got the same brilliant skill that Dele Alli actually had in his prime. Brilliant without the ball. Brilliant in terms of attacking the space, receiving the cross. It was absolutely pivotal. It was key in the final of the Europa League. I think that Mohamed Kudus dribbling after dribbling, but at the end of the day, he is missing that. He's missing that DNA of changing the game.
Simone, I think that Kudus has been probably one of our best players this season, and I'm really surprised by that statement, I must say.
Yeah, I know. I said it before to you that I'm gonna be very, very unpopular by criticizing Kudus, but for me, Kudus is not that top player that everyone is talking about. My humble opinion.
Well, of course, this is why we do the fan shows, to get everyone's opinions. And if anyone wants to join us on a future fan show, please do send me an email. It's tottenhamfanchris@gmail.com. Simone, thank you so much for coming on. Always great talking to you. Always a pleasure having you on. And we'll talk to you again soon.
Yes, of course.
Thank you so much. Cheers. Right. That is the end of the fan show. We did plan to record for 2 hours. It's been nearly 2.5 hours, but it's great to talk to so many Spurs fans from all around the world, getting everyone's takes, thoughts and feelings on the club right now. I'm feeling pretty positive about Spurs, I must say. And as I've said throughout the whole of this show, 6 games in the Premier League. We're sitting in the top 4 points away from league leaders Liverpool. We've lost 1 game, and that was against Bournemouth at home. Yes, that wasn't good enough. We've had other performances in the Premier League that haven't been good enough, but we've managed to pick points up. Yes, there will be bumps in the road, as we know. We've gone through so many different managers in recent times. But Thomas Frank, I believe, is going to change Tottenham and drive this football club forward in a positive way. That's how I feel at the moment. 2 games in the Champions League, we've got 4 points, and we're through to the Carabao Cup 4th round. You know, if we can go now into the international break, beating Leeds, getting the 3 points at Elland Road on Saturday, 12:30 kickoff. In the early kickoff on Saturday, then you know, we can all go into the international break with a big smile on our faces. And then, of course, when we come back from the international break, games come thick and fast again in the Premier League, in the Champions League, in the League Cup. Of course, we play Newcastle away in the League Cup 4th round. That is going to be a very difficult game. But what is an easy game nowadays? And as Thomas Frank has said on more than one occasion, you know, if you can't win a game, don't lose a game. So I do expect quite a few draws this season, but then again, I expect a lot of wins as well. As I said, it's great to talk to you all. Thank you so much to everybody who has come on this evening, particularly from those dotted all around the world. It's great to get everyone's thoughts, as I said. And if you would like to join me on a future fan show, do send an email in, tottenhamfanchris@gmail.com. Enjoy your weekend, stay safe and well, and we will be back again after the Leeds v Tottenham game on Saturday, the Spurs Chat podcast, as we will be giving our thoughts on the game. So enjoy your weekend. Thank you so much for all of your incredible support. And I'll finally say the QR code top left is for voting. If you'd like to vote for us at the Football Content Awards, I think there's about another week left of voting. So if you can support us, we would be very, very grateful. Thank you so much for all of your incredible support, and we will see you soon. Come on, you Spurs.